So we come from a community where we don't value our own lives, where, you know what I'm saying? And that's, you understand something, that is a learned behavior. That is not an organic thinking or an organic character trait in the mentality of our people. Our people are sick. We need our minds decaucasianized, okay? We need our minds cleansed. We need a psycho-spiritual cleansing. We need healing.
Yes.
Put a spell on you.
Peace and Black Power. This is Brother Reggie. This is my take, right, on this conference. Just my take. We start with these small community organizations with good principles. Some of them. And then they rapidly turn into criminal enterprises. And when they're in criminal enterprises, then it's a whole nother animal, right? Now you can have an organization moving as they do, saying they're doing things for like Black Power, feeding people, right? But then if we're not watching, these organizations quickly go to the person at top, they taking all the benefits, and their crew underneath that taking all of the benefits, and it becomes a pyramid, right? It's easy to attack the Zulu Nation now. I grew up knowing the Zulu Nation, right? And they were like a sweep of locusts, right? Right now it's easy to attack them. Back then you couldn't deal with the circumstances at all. And there were other organizations. I'm saying to our communities, use this situation to fix your communities, right? Your organizations. What we're not going to tolerate in the future is organizations acting like they're doing positive things, but at the same time got an underroot of criminal activities. Now, I'm not going to mention some of the organizations, but y'all start mentioning, y'all start thinking about some of the organizations. When you can't speak to the man at top, and you can't speak to the people on the councils, then it becomes a criminal organization. It don't become about the people. So I know a lot of things that happen in my projects and in those projects, and what happens is that basically when it becomes a criminal enterprise, the first thing they do is make you a criminal. So now you're a criminal, whether you're selling drugs, shooting people, right? You what you call OT, out of town, right? You doing stuff, right? Now you can't, or if you get caught up in it, what was happening with this situation, homosexual, you can't talk. Why can't you talk? Because you're part of the story, right? So what we got to do is insert righteousness in our community. We got to come together and figure out what is righteous for our community and work from there. Because what's happening is that we got a lot of people who are here for the camera. They ain't grow up in the neighborhoods. They ain't grow up in neighborhoods like Castle Hill, Queensbridge, Astoria, Monroe, right? Let's say Soundview, right? They ain't grow up in those Watson, right? Patterson, right? Or even in Lincoln and Grant. They're coming to look at a little piece of what was happening in the Bronx with Bambaataa, and then saying, okay, we good, we ain't got to talk about our story. So I'm saying we got to take this nationally, we got to fix our communities, right? When the cameras come off, when they turn off the cameras, we got to fix our communities. You can't be running around here unrighteous, right, and doing criminal activity. You got to fix that. Otherwise, you know what? You know who we kill? We kill our babies, right? And this is the main man right here, Sankofa. Sankofa, I want to ask you a question while you're here, right? So you're hearing all of this. This is the media now. We doing an important story, right?
Yes.
You know of organizations that have at its base positive, good things, right? But you yourself have seen organizations, without even mentioning those organizations, just have seen organizations quickly become criminal organizations. And then when they become quickly criminal organizations, there is this wall that can't be penetrated, right? Now we have a situation right here where these are people inside this organization trapped.
No, it was addressed to us,
but they can't speak, or they're just speaking years after, because when the organization was alive, there was a wall of silence. That only happens in criminal organizations. So I'm asking you, what do you feel about what we must do in our communities? Am I wrong or right about the criminal element in all of these, not in all of these, but in a number of these prominent organizations where we can't have these conversations and clear up matters? What do you?
You're absolutely right. You touched on a lot of very important points to ponder, and it's all about putting things in its proper perspective. Now, a criminal organization is a reflection of criminality outside of that organization. It becomes organized, okay, in a form of an organization, but it's a mentality that is at the root of it, or mentality is at the root of it. So we don't want to address the symptom or the sickness. We want to address the causes of the symptoms of this and the sicknesses. A doctor, when they do an analysis or a physical on you and they discover that you have a sickness, right, they have to study the anatomy of what caused the sickness, okay, in order to prescribe to you the right antidote or cure or even treatment, okay, geared towards healing that sickness. So when we talk about what's going on with Africa Bambaataa, and not just him, but organizations where a criminal element exists, and pedophilia, homosexuality, and other sexually depraved behavior takes place in.
And economic.
You know, you got to understand that, like you said, I wouldn't, and before I say that, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't put or paint the whole Zulu Nation as a criminal organization because of criminality. An element exists within it. We know within organizations we have circles, and we have inner circles, and we have circles within the inner circles. So there are people at the higher echelon, of course, they knew that was going on, but they don't want to lose their position. That's probably how they feed their family. They don't want to lose whatever little title that they have that makes them feel empowered.
And they did dirt themselves.
And they did dirt themselves, so there's like a brotherhood, right, based on the fact that you got dirt on me, I got dirt on you. We have to protect each other and our dirt. So therefore, then they try to hide behind what they've done that is good and positive for the community. The lies is to entrap, the lies, or the truth and the good is to attract you. The lies, the deception is to entrap you. And we see this all too often, not just in the Zulu Nation, because a lot of people that didn't come forth and speak, we have brothers out here today from the Zulu Nation. A shout out to the brothers in the Zulu Nation who is about doing the work, who is about uplifting the community and doing what they know best with the use, with the tools and resources they have to do what they're doing. But however, there were a lot of people that were ignorant to what was going on. There were a lot of people that was in the organization that have done so much good and have seen so much good done that it's hard. They don't know what to do. Brother. We can't expect everybody just to jump out. Some people are trying to see what's going on, but I believe change has to happen within the organization. Because if you destroy just the Zulu Nation and you don't go at, like I said, you're talking about the symptoms, not the cause. Right. Okay? Then what happens? You'll have other organizations under different names with the same attitude, mentality, and sickness that persists. Okay? That still continues to exist and harm and hurt people. And that's what we need to do. So it's not just about the Zulu Nation.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Like you said, a lot of people are here for photo ops and for media to be able to get on and show their handle verbally. But then there are those who are sincere and real about this work.
Brother, I grew up in the projects, so I know the story.
So you know the story.
I went to school with from 1st grade to 4th grade, right? And Brother Poppy and all of them, I know them, right, from the streets, right? I'm just saying that what happens is that our communities are going to have to reassess themselves because this criminal enterprise, we have to look at the causes for this. And I know it's economic, right? But then we can't create organizations to justify criminality with the things that they did. I'ma say this. I'ma say this. I'ma keep it real. I don't know what good is. When people say this organization was doing good. I don't know what good is when it's really about economics. It's really about being down. It's really about your name, right? You don't have to agree with me. I'm just saying that people run and say, well, the good of the community. Where's the record of the good? When there's no record of the good, then when we find out that it wasn't really good, we don't know what good is.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough, right?
I want to add on to what you're saying too. And like I was saying with the brother Reggie said, you're touching on good points. And the reason why I talk about, let's not talk about the symptoms, but the causes and a cure for those things, or how to combat or to keep the disease from spreading, is this. Now, everybody's not in an organization. There are more black children who are being hurt and sexually abused than there are those in organizations. We don't want to just dwell on African Bambaataa in the organization, and we don't want to deflect from that too. We want to go hard on that, but the reason why I say that, because once this is not the juicy or hot topic anymore, what do we go back to doing? Talking about the next juicy and hot topic? Or do we stay working on what it is that is outside of just the Zulu Nation, okay, what's going on in certain aspects in the Zulu Nation, and what African Bambaataa, I'm not going to say alleged no more, has done. It's just too much damn dirt out on him, and he hasn't ever come to defend him. So he is guilty until proven innocent, okay, in my opinion. However, we don't want to just keep, like I said, you bringing up the criminal enterprise. But there are children right now somewhere in the city, unfortunately, afraid of or being fondled or molested right now. That is not in the Zulu Nation. So what we have to do in the schools, in the foster homes, right? In shelters,
in our football team.
Okay, so what we have to do, all right, is we need to have a united front. We need to have a council. We need to start paying more attention to our children. Right. Fathers and men have to be better fathers. Men, if you don't have children, be a surrogate type of father figure, or a big brother type of father figure to the children in your community, because this epidemic is bad, and it goes beyond the Zulu Nation. I don't want us to keep just talking about African Bambaataa. We have to talk about the problem in its multiplicity, because what happens if we only deal with that, when that dies down, we cease to talk about the healing and addressing the problem that is persisting in the community as far as pedophilia is concerned. Okay? New York City madness go by, that's how they do.
People don't want to get out the street, they see a bus, they don't want to get out the street.
So, like I said, it's about consistently staying on the cause or root of the sickness, okay? Not the cause, not just the effect.
That's right.
We want to talk about the cause and the effect. Not just the effect and not deal with the cause. Because our children, we need to start monitoring our children more. Because we're not raising our children, television is. The TV shows like Empire, subliminal messages in the music, sexuality and sexploitation. Not just exploitation, but sexploitation in the music, in the media, okay? These things are what our children are being faced with. So even if they're not being touched by a coach or a leader of an organization or in a movement, they're being touched psychologically and subconsciously through media, television, and we don't combat that by being more productive and proactive parents, leaders in the community, men, even if you don't have children, be a surrogate. I gotta give a shout out, sidebar, to New Era Detroit, okay? Shout out to brother Zeke and what they're doing. You know, these brothers had said, no, we're not gonna wait for law enforcement. We're not gonna wait for somebody to say smack and we say ouch. Smack, ouch, smack, ouch. No, we're gonna block the hit before it goes down, okay? So what they're doing, they're out feeding the community, educating the community, and they're out, they have calls of people out there just watching the children for free as they go to school, getting on the school bus. Sisters taking their children to the school bus. These are brothers and sisters who stood up in the community, okay? Not for a photo op, not just to be on there dropping some knowledge. Not to say that dropping knowledge we shouldn't do, okay? We shouldn't be before the camera, but it has to be done in sincerity. It has to be consistent. It can't be talked about when a hot topic is up. We talk about that, but when it dies down, our focus on those things die down as well. See, I gotta shout out organizations like New Era Detroit, and we need to duplicate those kinds of movements, because what they're doing is they're impacting change. Then they're doing less talking and they're doing more proactivity.
They're ready for government.
Okay, like they're watching the community. They're watching the women and the children. It doesn't have to be their children, because there's an old African proverb that says this: it takes a village to raise a child.
That's right.
So we need to not just say black power and black African African power, but be proactively engaging in pro-black power behavior by watching our community and protecting our children.
So if these brothers in Detroit, what they ready for is taking over a city, right? Because they're doing government. So let's move it from an organization to actually government. I'm gonna say something else that I find real disingenuous, right? And this might be an issue, right? On one hand, we talk about, are we really talking about giving a refuge for these people who have been molested? Because, see, we got this stigma in this organization. Some people get up there and say, you don't need to be a homosexual. Watch this. You need to be doing something else, right? The problem is the reason why these brothers is not going to come out and say that they were involved in this, because that's going to end their heterosexual life. It's going to end their heterosexual life. I'm going to say that now they're out there. So the problem is what's going on right now is people are starting to tell on who got victimized. When they start telling on who got victimized, then that takes people out of the family. Then someone who's having problems with his wife, the wife goes, you see, I knew something was funny about you. This is why this is so painful about what's happening, right? Because there are hundreds of people involved in this particular matter. But not in this neighborhood, in other neighborhoods. So we have to step very, very carefully. Because there are our communities at jeopardy. There's people who are trying to be good fathers, right? Who have been caught up in this, right? And what people don't know, because I grew up in there, right? There's just as many stories of men, there are more stories of women, right? Being raped, underage. But we have yet to begun to hear their pain, right? And I don't want to really put that out there to blow up, but I know and they know and the community knows because we had gangs. And what does a gang do, right? But what we have to be very careful about, there are lots of victims. So, you know, normally, like if you smoke crack, the first thing we do is say, you're a crackhead. If you've been molested, the first thing that we say is you're a faggot. We gotta fix ourselves to save our community. Because I'm just saying, I don't want to be disingenuous, right? But if you're going around calling people faggots, you got nothing to help them with. Because what you're doing is they're gonna run away from you. You have to be, if you're going to be righteous, you got to be totally righteous. And that's the problem with our community. We always want to be half in and half out. Use somebody because they confessed and then turn around and say, he looked like he was gay all his life. Right? We need to be righteous and put everything into being righteous. Otherwise, we're going to fall. And that's my look on this, because I'm watching people and I'm listening to the names and I know who said what they said, right? But at the end of the day is we have to save our community and we have to fix what the European, because the European ultimately is doing this to us, right? But we get caught up and we don't see the big picture. We don't see that if they pass on changing the statute of limitations, see all these brothers that said that they saw something, right? Guess what's gonna happen to them? They're gonna get RICO statute. Why? Huh? Because they ain't go to the police, right? Because they are part of the problem. And they're going to be like, because they was gang members. So be very, very careful about trying to move this into the Europeans' hands, because what he'll do is he'll open up the door and drag hundreds in the net and say, oh, you was a member of this organization? Right? You're going to be blind indicted. So we're in a difficult situation. So that's my piece.
I like what you said. You said I'm righteous. Now I want people to understand that righteous. I can't speak for you on what you mean by that, but some people from the religious community may interpret that to mean different things. I think what I would like to say, because I use the term righteous too, speaking for myself, when I say righteous, the root word of that is right, meaning the opposite of wrong. Meaning it's not in a parochial or religious sense when I say right. I mean sometimes taking a life might have to be right, even if you believe that religiously that's not righteous. See, so that's why I want to take it out of the parochial context and put it in a perspective where it's all encompassive, where by any means necessary, even if your religious fundamentals are in contrast to what we do, what we must do to stop things that are going on in our community in the form of justice, and it has to be payback or reciprocity for wrong that is done. It might be right, okay? Now, you know, there's a way of operating and moving too. I'm not telling nobody to just move reckless and be a vigilante without guidance, without counsel, without discipline, without structure, and without emotional balance and intellect. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you know, sometimes what somebody considers wrong, it will be right for you to do to combat and to kind of deter people from continuing to do things, because people do things without impunity because they're waiting for justice to happen in the courts, okay, in the criminal justice system, when a lot of times we have to become a self-governed people. We talk about autonomy, we talk about self-sufficiency, but what about not waiting for statute of limitation? There's no statute of limitation on wrongdoing to our children in our community, regardless if there's a statute of limitation on it in the courts and in the criminal justice system.
Unless you're a part of the criminal enterprise.
So what I want to say too is, because we don't want to just dwell on the Zulu Nation, because what that is juicy topicism. That's right. What we want to do is we want to dwell on the problems in its multiplicity, because over 10,000 or 25,000 black children or even more a year are missing. Sex slave camps exist. Body organ harvesting exists. Hold up. So these things are taking place right now. Okay? So we have to look at African Bambaataa. We have to look at the micro and the macro, because they all play an integral part on the collective, on as far as the pain and the impact that it's having on our children, making our children grow up emotionally distraught and dysfunctional psychologically, making them, as like I would like to use the scenario like in a vampire movie. A vampire bites you, now you become that vampire and you start to bite other people and plague them. So a lot of people, the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. We're a people that are a product of being raped and molested for centuries. Now that doesn't mean you give everybody a pass who touches the children. Oh, it's all right, brother or sister, the white man did it to us in slavery, so we understand why you do it. Because there is a thing called accountability. We understand collectively why we as a people are so sexualized. Sexuality is promoted with our women being twerking, being big booty hoochie mamas in front of the camera, where our sisters want to grow up and not to become popular or respected because of their intellect, but because of their body and how good they can twerk and shake that thing and get their eagle on. You know what I'm saying? So outside of just the Zulu Nation, what the media is promoting, what is being perpetuated intergenerationally to our children, that is making them sex crazed and depraved, sexually depraved to a great extent. These things must be addressed. Us as men, us who are claiming to be leaders, us who are claiming to be conscious, must be conscious of the fact that this is things that are taking place in our community, and the way you see us becoming more sexually debased. Yeah, I'm not going to say call somebody childish names like faggot, but I'm not going to fight against nobody saying that name, because I am for straight black pride. Now, I believe that there is a way that we must learn to articulate, and if we are claiming to be conscious, there's a level of maturity and discipline that comes, and concern that we should address that brother or sister who is engaging in a lifestyle that is a lifestyle of sexual decadence because of things that may have happened to them, or because they might be psycho-spiritually debased. So there is a way in which we have to reach out to them. So I agree with you on that. But because you see that homosexuality is not just only a result of molestation or them being hurt or being touched. A lot of it is being promoted as a fad. A lot of it is being put in the food. Certain things are being put in the food. Look at Codex Alimentarius. Codex Alimentarius was a government-sponsored program by the World Health Organization that they was trying to put certain chemicals in the food in the form of drugs that would make people have more feminine tendencies that are men.
That's right.
You might say, oh, that can't happen. YouTube this video. And this is not just a lecture or a documentary, somebody showing slides. It's actual news footage. News anchormen talking how the American scientist think tanks had came up with something called the gay bomb. And how they dropped it, I forget where the area was, and what it does, it goes into the air, it goes into the food, it goes into the water. Okay, so when people start to eat this, instantly the people who were engaging as an insurgent in military armed opposition, which is war, against the other military, what happened was they had uncontrollable sexual urges for other men, and it made them less likely to fight with the aggression and the focus that is needed to go to war with. There is something called astrazyne. Look these things up.
It's recent studies.
Recent studies. Look it up. The gay bomb. Go to YouTube. The news footage of the gay bomb. So it means if they gay bomb, homosexuality, pedophilia can be chemicalized. We don't know. And we have to address things on all fronts and all levels. That's why we must be scientific, we must be proactive, okay? And we must be on the front line. We must protect our community. We must watch out for the women and the children in our community. Look at the rape rate. Look at the level. We look at the murder rates. We look at the car theft rates. We look at the crime, assault and battery, because that's how the general consensus is gathered from the police. You know, they do a general consensus of yearly to show how much, which city had the most crime, statistically, which city had the most crime, rape. Look at the level of rape. It says the murder, and a lot of cities have a high murder rate. Murder rate is like this. They show bars. The rape rate is like this, or sexual assault. More than car theft and then in areas where these things are taking place at more so are in areas that are impoverished, where they have high ignorance. What I mean by high ignorance, because there's a disproportionate distribution of wealth and privilege. Okay? So therefore the schools are inferior. The quality of education isn't the same. The police are not there to protect us, but to protect property and to wage war against us. The father is not in the home. The children are being raised by television and negative music and negativity all around them in a community that has been conditioned for generations to perpetuate these traditions and conditions that destroy us. We have to look at these things on all levels. Afrika Bambaataa, he doesn't get a pass, but he is a product of a process of development of a decadent mind state, a decadent sexual behavior. This is why, because there's a whole bunch of him out there.
This is the reason why I want to talk to Brother Sankofa, right? Because he's giving you a wider picture than the cameras. Now me and Sankofa, we can go over there in front of the cameras. That's not a problem, right? But we're having a more cause-oriented conversation than to talk about people's personal problems, because it's difficult when someone has gotten molested to let them see the big picture. No, they put all fronts, all boots down on this issue. I'm saying, and what we're saying nationally, there's a war on our people, and more than ever our people is going to have to solve our own problems. The Bambaataa situation is going to be fixed, right? But what about the rest of the communities? What about what's happening in Chicago, right? It's easy to focus on this right now and take our lenses off of what's happening in Chicago, right? That's an easy thing to do, right? We need to sharpen our skills, right? So that we can deal with the wider black family. Right, so that's why I thought that Sankofa would be good. I wanted to have a conversation with him and deal with this, the wider picture, then, so that we can deal with the situation of Bambaataa, which I think is going to be taken care of. Right?
But that thing happened in Russia too.
Anyway, so like I was saying, so like I said, because Afrika Bambaataa, that issue has to be addressed. But we don't want to address that, and once that is addressed, hypothetically, he goes to prison or whatever justice is served in any way, that we stop talking about that and we go on to the next juicy topic once again. Right. We have to be consistent in our proficiency in addressing things that are destroying the fiber, the moral fiber of our community, that is raising generations of lost souls. Look at that, I be seeing young sisters walking around 12, 13 years years old. No life skills. They don't know nothing about real love via experience, experiment, growing up, going through things with people. But here it is. They think that they love the same sex. Okay? They're confiding in them for love. Okay? Because everybody has a natural inclination for love. This is a human characteristic that we could never subside from. We are social creatures, and we are creatures that need love, or that need communication or interaction or engagement with others. So since we don't have that in our households, because our household is broken, a lot of what you see is a product of broken homes, and broken homes produce broken communities, and broken communities produce a broken nation of people, and a broken nation of people produces a generation of broken people that become more broken and more deteriorated and more readily, because you gotta assassinate the character before you assassinate the people. Therefore, the assassination of the people seems justifiable in the court of public opinion. So for the black man and woman in prison, nobody values our life, because a lot of us have been conditioned not to value our own life on so many different levels that a lot of these children, babies, seeking love. I be seeing young teenage boys on the trains looking for love in all the wrong places because they feel like there is a void of love or true love. Love doesn't mean just giving them materialism. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to all the good mothers and fathers and parents that are just doing their best with what they have out there. You know what I mean? But we got to look at the bigger picture, and we got to evaluate these things in levels and in layers. Because if we claim to be conscious, consciousness precedes unity. Okay? Conscious, okay, has to be the objective, because nobody's gonna come together on collectivity, on collective terms and principles without an understanding of what we're coming together for. Okay? So in a community where you see not only are we divided, okay, but we are a community that is in moral free fall. We're in a community that is destroying each other, and we're in a community that prides themselves on ignorance. A lot of people, not everybody in our community, for those who like to over-critique every soundbite, there is a big and great element, okay, and it is very prevalent in our communities where we pride ourselves on ignorance, we pride ourselves on our own self-hatred. I'll blow that nigga's head off. Say something else. Nigga, let's get it poppin', nigga. I don't play no games. What it is, nigga? You look at another brother, I'm from Boston. I know people that got their heads blown off just for looking at somebody the wrong way. Not because they owe somebody money, and that's a problem too, but just because they looked at somebody wrong. You know what I mean? So we come from a community where we don't value our own lives, where, you know what I'm saying? And that's, you understand something, that is a learned behavior. That is not an organic thinking or an organic character trait in the mentality of our people. Our people are sick. We need our minds de-Caucasianized. Okay, we need our minds cleansed. We need a psycho-spiritual cleansing. We need healing. Because therefore, if we don't work on healing and working on protecting the community and working on educating our children and building better communication with our children, what we do is we aid and abet in the decadence that you see playing out around us. Okay, we must become better people. We can't be conscious symbol. We have to become more conscious substance. That means not just talking about the issues, but being on the ground, standing up, willing to give your life or take a life if necessary to defend yours. Okay, we need vanguard leadership. We need vanguard brother and sisterhood. We can't just talk about it no more. We can't just articulate what the problem is. We have to be more solution oriented.
And religion, the problem is religion. A lot of people fall back on religion. Religion is not the end all of a solution. It may offer some basic moral values, some basic stories to pull people together and make a community, right? But religion is not dynamic enough to solve the problems, and oftentimes it's the cause of a lot of divisions. So we have to evolve as human beings. So we're going to keep following this story. It was a pleasure talking to Brother Sankofa, because he gives such a wide narrative of the causations of the matter instead of just the symptoms. So peace, Baba TV, bye every time. It's always a pleasure being on here.
And I want to close that like this. We all give perspectives, and everybody's perspective and opinion, long as it's rooted in reality and healing of our people, is respected. And we should all listen, because we can all learn from each other. Thus the term steel, sharpen steel means something, because it takes a sharp piece of metal to sharpen another piece. Some people look at things, if you have a box, some people will just see a box. Some people see the left side, some people see the right side, some people see the bottom of the box, some people see the box from the top, some people see the inside and the outside. My purpose of looking at the box, some of us are just in the box. We have to look at the box from all levels, angles, and dynamics. That way we can have better, because a lot of us we're all like pieces of the puzzle. We all don't have the answer, okay, but we all can be contributing factors to the solution if we know what needs to be done, okay? So we need all hands on deck. We need all soldiers on the front line. We need all brothers. When I say soldiers, not limited to brothers, there's a lot of sisters who are more soldiers than some of these brothers, who are more intelligent, who are more for real about liberation than some brothers. We need all hands on deck and everybody's perspective, because when we sit down and we have conferences and we have councils and we build about what we ought to do, you'll see that a lot of people have intelligent solutions that they can bring to the table. Okay, we don't want to act like this, the conscious community type thing. It's a conscious community symbol, then it's conscious community substance. The conscious community that is of substance networks with people regardless of what they believe in, long as it's conducive with liberation for the people, or what their dress code is, okay, because they're coming together for the greater good of the collective of our people. That's why I talk nationalism. That's what nationalism means, okay? For the better good and the advancement and the preservation of a nation, okay? So with all our getting knowledge, let's get understanding, and with all our understanding, let's get to work and let's be proactive. Shout out once again to New Era Detroit. I respect brother Zeke and what you brothers are out there doing, and we need to duplicate that right here, right now. I mean, because our children are dying. Our children are dying, and if you're not part of the solution, especially if you claim to be conscious, then you're more of a part of the problem, because you know better, but you don't show better. So even myself, I need to get more proactive and be more on the ground and start to organize and network with people more, instead of just being in front of the camera dropping knowledge. And I hope more of our brothers and sisters out there that claim to be conscious feel the same way, and we network and start to organize, because it hurts me when I sat up there and heard what happened to these brothers and these other sisters in the audience crying. I seen a sister crying. Something's probably happened to her that she doesn't want to get before the camera and speak on. And this happens to a lot of our people. Ronald Savage, brave soldier, Poppy, a brave brother who came up before the world, regardless of the ridicule, the judgment that people would have. And he's a soldier, he can hold it down. But hold up, there was a lot of other brothers out there and sisters out there who are not going to come out and speak. Maybe not yet, maybe not at all. But we don't want to just stop at conversing about what the problem is and articulating what the problem is, but not intellectualizing, coming together like our own black think tanks and our own counterintelligence interagencies, okay, for our own self-preservation, and work together cohesively for the healing of our people. If you're not doing that, stop calling yourself conscious. Stop saying you're righteous, because you're only wrongcious if you're not really coming together with what you know as a tool to network for the greater good and healing of our community. So with that, I want to say peace and black power. Let's not talk about it, let's be about it, because our future is predicated upon what we do with what we know. Peace and black power.
That's right, peace.